Welcome to Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow, a new minicast brought to you by SME. I'm your host, Tony Meary, Director of Community Engagement and Workforce Innovation. In this minicast, we're going to dive deep into workforce development, exploring challenges, opportunities, and solutions that are shaping the future of manufacturing. Each month, I'll bring you insightful interviews with key industry leaders, sharing success stories, highlighting significant events, and providing valuable resources to help you stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a seasoned manufacturing professional or just starting your journey, Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow is your go-to source for the latest news and trends in workforce development. So join me every month as we work together to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce. Let's get started.
Today's guest is Gabe Kooyers, and if you don't know who Gabe is, then you are probably not on LinkedIn. So I met Gabe many years ago. I would say machining instructor extraordinaire, but one of my favorite things is how innovative you have been, and you have been very flexible with the way that you've been delivering your program. And I love the fact that you go in with more of that kind of engineering design set, the design thinking process of teaching your students. So Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
All right, Gabe. So tell us about your journey from when you first became inspired by careers in manufacturing to actually getting in the classroom. What did that look like?
All right. Well, I was actually a student in my program way back in the day, and I started off wanting to be an engineer. So I saw this machining pathway as a route to a company paying for my engineering degree. So took machining. I loved it. Even back, I was probably 9 or 10. My dad was at IBM, and I saw my first milling out a piece of that old blue wax. And then all of a sudden in high school, I learned about machining, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was that stuff. And it just really grabbed me. And so then I got apprenticeship for plastic injection mold making. I was an injection mold maker, and then I sat on my advisory committee for my program. And when my teacher was retiring, they were actually downsizing the program because, it was back in the day, and they were offshoring a lot of stuff. And they said, well, who's going to teach half time? And I'm like, oh, I will, and I'll go back to school full time. So I got my teaching degree, and then it built up the program and really did a shift and a focus towards CNC first, and then backfilling with manual machining, and got students excited about it. Went full time, changed the look of the shop, white epoxied floors, high intensity lighting, and all those things have really been a factor in growing the program.
All right, Gabe. So what year did you start teaching, and what was your enrollment that year?
2003, my first finishing class was 6 students. So
and
at
Gabe,
the end of the year,
What does your enrollment look like today?
Pretty much filled in both blocks, an AM and a PM block, roughly 16 to 17 students, AM and PM.
And how closely do you work with the engineering program?
Very closely. We do projects hand in hand together, and it was really cool because engineers, and if you're in the machining side of this, when you hear this, so full disclosure, engineers can do amazing things on the computer and they can draw great stuff, but then when it gets out to the shop, can it be machined? Or, hey, can we do it like this or like that? And that really makes a big difference. So it was a great way to bring those skills all together, and it was great.
And I love it because I've talked to your engineering teacher before. I love the fact that now they're putting in desktop machines. They're doing so much more in their program because there is such a close relationship between engineering and machining. But it's like, yeah, I can engineer that, but that's a $14,000 part and your budget is a $14 part. So let me show you how we can machine this and stay in budget. I think understanding that at such a young age is vital for putting out not just better machinists, but better engineers too.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is so many people go, oh, you're a mold maker. Can you make a mold for this one part? And I'm like, the mold would be like $50,000 to $100,000 for one part, or let's 3D print it or machine a one part, and it would be much more cost effective. Yeah.
I love it. And now let's talk a little bit about, you briefly touched on CNC up front And I remember when you and I first talked about this, and it's been a minute,
Right.
that you were like, yeah, I'm going to turn the kids loose on the technology. That's what they're here for. And it was like a light bulb moment for me. And I know you've talked with other educators that I've sent to you. Tell me about that pivot in your program and what it's done for your student engagement.
Yeah, so I tell you, in 2016, Titans of CNC came out with the Academy, the Building Blocks Academy. And that first year, I'm like, all these 10 parts, and they're supposed to be made to go in sequence, but I'm like, just pick a part. Let's try it. Found out that was the wrong way to do it. It's meant to be in line and progress on themselves. So I had students all over the board, and we learned a lot that year. The next year, I said, all right, we're going to flip-flop the class, because normally the way I was trained, you are on the manual machines until you graduate up to the CNC, and it built in a lot and trained in a lot of fear with the CNCs, I really feel, where, oh my gosh, I can turn handles here, but over there, if I crash there, oh my goodness, that's horrible, right? Which it is not a good thing to crash, but if you put in systematic checks, there's a process where it makes it very successful. And if you're diligent and you double check this checklists, you can be successful right off the bat.
And one of the things that I've been stressing, and I actually wrote a LinkedIn article, probably 2.5 years on it. These students are coming in and they know XYZ coordinates. I remember when my son was 7, he saw his first CNC machine and he goes, XYZ, those are coordinates. And I was like, Finn, how do you know that? He goes, Minecraft. So these kids are already coding and programming, and you're taking them in and saying, this is where you're going to end up. But are they still getting the manual machining experience? Because you learn differently, right? Turning the dial and the feel and the sound of the machine. So how do you balance the two out?
So what I have them do is, like, the first day they're in here, they're starting to draw and program. So so many students are like, well, I hate computers. I'm like, well, if you're going into this career field, computers are going to be a thing in your lifespan of your career. I mean, there is no getting around that nowadays, except maybe 1 or 2 different shops. So they start drawing and programming right off the bat. They'll be in their first month, they'll get through their first 2 Titan parts, or now I take that back, probably the first 2 months, they'll get through their first 2 Titan parts. And then Titan 2M, I actually have them make the same part, but on the manual machine. And they really see the difference in, it takes them 2 weeks, maybe, because they're just learning the manual mill. You know, it's normal to take that long. But it took them 4.5 minutes to cut it in the CNC, where a manual 2M will take 1 to 2 weeks. And they're like, oh, wow. You know, and they really see how beneficial it is to have that CNC knowledge.
And I think what you've done is you've made it really engaging. I know so many times, and again, it's like you've got to pay your dues, right? You've got to pay your dues, you've got to do manual for a year, and then you get into CNC, and then you're out on co-op. So you're not getting anywhere near the experience. So tell me a little bit what industry feedback has been like on these students that are coming out of your program, starting CNC, backing into manual, moving back forward into CNC when they're going out on co-op.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, every 2 CNC parts, they do a manual part. So they're constantly bouncing back and forth. That also, because I don't have 10 CNCs for the students to use, and I don't have 10 mills or 10 lathes, there is always something to do. They come in, hey, the LaVille is open. Oh, cool, I'll cut my 6M, and they'll hop there. Where just the day before, they were over here because another student was here, and they're just always hopping. Now, feedback from the employers has been great. By the time they get through the Titan curriculum and the manual parts that we do, the students are plug and play, especially if it's a Mastercam shop. The students are able to walk right in, and on day 2, day 3, they're drawing and programming parts on their machines and setting them up in the CNCs. That's one thing that I'm really happy with. And for years, I was like, oh, I don't have a whole shop of Haas, right? Well, now it's awesome because I have Herco, I have Haas, I have LaVille, which is a FANUC control. Students are learning on each one of those controls, and it's kind of like I embraced the diversity of it. I'm like, wait a minute, now any shop the student goes to, they can walk into the machine and, oh, okay, I feel comfortable with it. So it's really been cool. Employers love it, the students, and it is like the golden day. I swear lights are shining down. When I walk through the shop, there's a student on every different control. There's a couple over here. There's some up at the computers, drawing and programming in Mastercam. And it's just like, oh, this is amazing.
And I have to say, like, hold on, let me backpedal, because you kind of brushed over the fact that you're really setting students up to create their own schedule, work their own timeline. You just need to have your projects done. Like, heaven forbid they have real life skills like project management and time management.
Right.
And I mean, you just floss over that, like, oh, that's just part of the program. Let's talk a little bit about the interview process, because I love what you've done with your students and how they can show the work that they've done. Do you want to talk a little bit about their suitcases, their briefcases?
Yeah, for sure. So with these 10 building block projects, it is an awesome thing that we do. We partnered with a local company called Barber Packaging. They make foam packaging for the big three and auto and all these different companies. Well, we said, hey, could you partner with us and make a foam insert? And so we actually, I have one right here. And here's the briefcase. We buy briefcases, put the insert in, and then there's their 10 parts. So it is the best resume that the student can have, because they'll have their folder with their setup sheets from Mastercam. They'll have their inspection reports that they manually inspect those parts. Then we take them over and use the master 3D gauge with Verisurf. We inspect them with the auto inspect routine, and they have that PDF print off, and then they have the briefcase. I've had students go into interviews and they'll walk in with their briefcase, and it kind of looks like James Bond. and then they'll say, well, would you like to see some of my work? And they open that up, and it's like lights shine down, and it's really exciting. And you'll have adults looking at the parts, looking at the finishes. Oh my God, so you just push the button on this, like you put the stock in and push. No, I drew it, I programmed it, I set it up, I cut it, I inspected it both manually and on the CMM. They're like, oh wow.
It's pretty impressive. So let's talk a little bit about industry partnerships, because I think, and again, if anybody's not connected with you, we'll make sure that your LinkedIn connection is in the blog post that will accompany this. We'll make sure we get a picture of that amazing shadow boxed briefcase that you have as well. Yeah. But I think you have one of the things about machining instructors, and I think I can say this without offending anybody, is y'all are too humble. And you don't brag on yourself, and you don't brag on anything but your students. So it's really hard to get funding, to get industry buy-in, to get the support that you need when you are so busy just kind of trying to work on enrollment and doing all the things. You have elevated the visibility of your program significantly on LinkedIn. And I think it's been amazing to watch. But tell me a little bit about the industry partnerships. You constantly have people in the shop coming to visit. I know I was supposed to come visit, but didn't realize Van Buren Tech was not in Van Buren County, right? Where I was going the other direction. You know, there you go. GPS is a great tool when used correctly. But talk a little bit about leveraging social media to really just grow the visibility of your program, your students, and bring partners to the table.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And like, you know, Titan had said, well, are you on LinkedIn? And we did a PD, man, probably 15 years ago. Hey, teachers, you need to be on LinkedIn, make a profile. So I had made one, but it was just sitting there dormant. And he goes, if you want industry to look at your program and to see what you're doing and to market your students, he goes, you need to be where industry is, and that's on LinkedIn. So I try to do at least 2 to 3 posts a week, and at the beginning, you know, it took a little bit work, get the wording, get the tags, figuring out the hashtags, which that's not the pound sign, figure all that out. But once I have it, I have a Google Doc all set up with kind of like scripts. And if it's the same process that the student's doing, I just back out their name and put in the new name. And it is amazing because In the first year that I did it, I found 3 shops within 20 miles of the school I didn't even know existed. And they started, hey, could we come in and see your program? And they saw it. And then, hey, everybody that visits, we get a selfie, right? And we put that out. And thank you so much for visiting. They get exposure, you get exposure. And also, what for teachers, this is the best way to show your bosses that you're doing what industry wants. You know what I mean? When you have industry going, oh my gosh, great job, students, you know, and everything else, or man, they should have that in my area, then you can say, hey, boss, check this out. And it really helps your program. In the school, it helps your program. The partnerships, LaVille, here, the LaVille machine, they reached out and said, hey, have you looked at our machines and checked that out? And we began a partnership there. Last week from Shop Floor Coffee, we got 5 bags of coffee given to us just to show some love, and they like to see what they're doing. Verisurf, Mastercam, Titans, obviously, they're showing us a lot of love over the years. Midatoyo and Kennametal. I gotta say, all my sponsors, it's like a
Right.
NASCAR.
Exactly. I'm surprised you didn't show up with like
interview.
the shirt and the hat and be like, you know, your gloves pop up and say Kennametal on them.
Yeah, right, right. But yeah, I mean, all the partners, they've been so awesome. We have Kennametal coming in next week, Ashley, and it's just been amazing. And I mean, just showing what the students can do. Again, this isn't, oh, look at me. It's the students are doing it. Today's generation grew up with technology. They're not afraid to push buttons and get in there, right? Now, the instructors might be like, oh, that was $80,000 machine, and, you know, and nervous about it, but embrace the fact that these students grew up with it. Like you said, your son, oh, that's X, Y, and Z. My son actually at college just did a presentation about gamification. He taught himself Python code by playing a game, and it's all about learning that coding. And yeah, just let them run, give them the tools, let them run, be there to guide them, kind of like a shepherd, you know, like, hey, over here. Did you double check that? But yeah, let the students run, because they love it and they get after it.
I love the fact that you're empowering them. And I think the biggest thing I've noticed about the next workforce, the next generation, is they are self-seekers. So give me enough information and then let me figure it out on my own. They don't want us to hold their hand. And one of my favorite new little, you know, things in my repertoire is the word fail stands for first attempt in learning. So make sure you fail up. And I have to give Kelsey Unger from Caterpillar, you know, credit for that one. But for me, it's just, you're doing so much to empower your students. I know a lot of schools struggle with trying to get social media buy-in from their community college or from their high school. And you're doing this under your personal LinkedIn profile. You're sharing all these stories under your personal LinkedIn profile. It's a professional setting. Right. And I would dare to say it looks like it's working.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, you know, on LinkedIn, what do? You're marketing your trade, your industry, right? Well, my industry being an instructor, my product is the students. So that's where I kind of looked at it, is that, yeah, it's my personal profile, but getting students interested, getting them excited, that is my product, you know? So, and it's just been amazing. I mean, it's been revolutionary. The big shift was Titans of CNC coming out with the academy and all the training videos and all the education. Just the other day, the wire machine, my students are like, hey, what's that machine? Oh, well, let's learn about it. And then we watch it and explain it, and because we don't have one of those machines, but it's an amazing resource to have out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for building the next workforce. And I can't thank you enough for being our guest today. You're absolutely amazing. Check out the accompanying blog for this as well. And definitely make sure to connect with Gabe on LinkedIn. Thanks, Gabe.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's a wrap for this episode of Manufacturing the Workforce of Tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to stay updated on all the latest trends and happenings in workforce development. Don't forget to visit our website at sme.org for more resources and information. Until next time, let's continue to build a stronger, more resilient manufacturing workforce together.